I remember when my parents left the house, automatically this babysitter looked at me and said, Baba, I want you to realize that you're the master of this house and I'm just your little toy. So you're gonna take care of me, right? And at that moment, I realized this babysitter was sus, bro. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another really insane, but I gotta say crazy story. Now, this story all takes place back when I was in high school and this was my grade 11 year. Now, you guys are probably wondering, wait, in grade 11, you had a babysitter? And I'll explain. You see, 2 weeks before my parents got me a babysitter in my grade 11 year, you gotta understand, I was kicked out of high school, or I should say suspended, for basically pulling the fire alarm every day of the week on finals. It was something I wasn't proud of, but I'm gonna be honest, I had to do something to get out of finals, and that's a story that's already on the channel, so if you guys want to go check that out, go for it. But other than that, after that whole crazy fiasco, my parents had no trust in me whatsoever. They wouldn't trust me to do my homework, they wouldn't trust me to go out and stay responsible for my mistakes, and on top of that, they would even give me a curfew of when I was supposed to come home. And by the way, in grade 11, you're like, what, 16 turning 17? So I guess I was still kind of a child, but still, I was able to make my own choices. At least so I thought. Going on with the story, I remember my grade 11 year, I ended up coming home one day and my parents needed to leave. They needed to leave for like a trip that they had planned on going for a while, because my parents usually like to go on trips just so they can make sure that their love stays alive. Even though their love is seriously gross, because they would always kiss in front of me and love each other in front of me and make, you know, cute baby sounds in front of me. They would always go on these random trips to basically go on crazy dates with each other because they're just adventurous like that. I really don't know. So right as I came home one day, I ended up seeing my mom packing her bags with my dad, and that's when I ended up looking at my mom saying, wait, so you guys are leaving? Oh, okay, that sounds good. And right as I say that, I ended up seeing another girl come out of the living room towards the front door where I was at, and out of nowhere, I was in shock because this girl was like super hot and super attractive, but I had no idea who she was. And right at that moment, I remember this girl looks at me and says, oh, you must be Bubba. You're the guy I'm taking care of, right? And when she said taking care of, I was in major disbelief. I was like, what? Mom, Dad, did you seriously get me a babysitter? I'm in grade 11. Bubba, you're not paying attention in school. And honestly, this is your last chance at school or you could get expelled. So we're going to make sure you do your homework here too. At that moment, I was really upset because, like, I get it. I wasn't the smartest guy on the planet, but there was no way, no actual way they were going to make me have a babysitter in my grade 11 year. I remember I was super annoyed and super upset and I just didn't know what to think. But my parents, they didn't even want to argue with me about it. They ended up just getting their bags and putting it in the car and leaving. Right as my parents left though, I remember I closed the front door in just major shock. Like, I was seriously flabbergasted. And right as I turn around and look at the babysitter, she was just staring at me super weird. And she says to me, okay, Bubba, so now that your parents are gone, I want to let you know, like, you're the master of this house and you're like basically supposed to be my owner. So I want you to treat me like a toy. At that moment, I was super confused. I'm like, wait, what in the world did you just say to me? And I ended up going upstairs. I know it sounds crazy because I just called her super attractive, but this babysitter was crazy for just saying that, like, the first thing ever. Like, think about it. You don't see girls walking up to you saying, oh yeah, you own me. Like, that makes no sense, bro. So I ended up going upstairs to my room and I ended up just closing it on her. And I just ended up turning on my Xbox and started playing video games. But right as I turn it on and get into a Call of Duty match, I ended up hearing a knock on my door. But it wasn't any ordinary knock because as I was looking at my door, I realized that it sounded like a dog was like scratching the bottom of my door. So as I thought a dog was all of a sudden in my house with this crazy woman, I opened the door and I realized it was literally my babysitter on all fours acting like a dog. And right as I open it, she says to me, Bubba, I'm sorry I've been a bad girl. Please take care of me. At that moment, I had really no idea where in the absolute world did my parents hire this babysitter from. But I'm telling you right now, it was definitely from the Devil's Hub, because there was no way this was a babysitter, okay? And I was actually so shocked that I started to look around my house just to make sure there wasn't any cameras and I wasn't in like some reality show. I really don't know, but I ended up looking at her and I ended up grabbing her by the shoulders and made her stand up and said, bro, what are you doing? Why are you acting like this? What do you mean, Bubba? I mean, like, why are you being so weird? Oh, well, like, your parents told me like you were really naughty and like, I know, I kind of like that. Okay, that's great and all, but like, how old are you? Oh, Oh, I'm only 24. At that moment, I ended up just walking back into my room and shutting the door on her once again because I was just like, what in the world is going on here? I still couldn't believe it. I didn't think this was actually like the real world. I remember as I did that though, I ended up hearing her walk back downstairs and I just sat on my Xbox, started playing video games. And then this is where things get kind of insane because I remember as I was in my room playing video games, I ended up hopping on an Xbox party with me and the boys and I started talking to them and I ended up telling them exactly what this babysitter was doing. But as I was telling them, I remember they said, wait, your parents actually got you a babysitter, Bubba? Dude, that's gotta be cringy. Yeah, it is, but did you not hear the rest of what I said? She literally called me like her master and stuff and to treat her like a toy. Okay, Bubba, sure she did. I remember my friends did not believe me and I was getting super upset. But then this babysitter ends up basically walking into my room out of nowhere and she comes up behind me near the microphone and says, hey, daddy, what do you want me to do right now? At that moment, my friends just all went silent over the microphone and they didn't say a word. And I remember I was just looking at her saying, nothing. Can you leave me alone? I'm trying to play video games. Okay, daddy, if you need anything, just let me know. And she walked away. At that moment, I ended up looking at my TV, just in total shock about what just happened. And all my friends just started bursting out laughing, saying, bro, there's no way. We gotta come over and see what's going on. Please let us come over. And I started to panic. I ended up telling them, nah, like it's not a good idea, but if things get worse, I'll make sure to call you guys up. They all ended up basically laughing and I ended up leaving the party. And that's when I decided to go downstairs and confront this girl on why she was acting so dumb. So that's exactly what I did. I went down the stairs. I basically went straight to my living room and she was just sitting there on her phone, acting normal. But once she saw me, she ended up standing up and going on her knees saying, is there anything you want me to do? I didn't expect your presence here. I looked at her and said, okay, do you have any kind of like mental disorder I need to know about? She ended up standing up and saying, what? No, I don't. Why would I? No reason. It's just you've been acting really weird. Like you don't understand. Like you're supposed to be babysitting me. Yeah, and you're supposed to be 16 turning 17 soon. I don't see what the problem is here. At that moment, I was just in total shock and I was like, listen, I understand like what you're trying to do and like you're super attractive, but like I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it's a good idea. And that's when I ended up going into the living room and I basically ended up turning on the TV and just decided to watch some shows. I remember my babysitter got really annoyed with me at that point because like I basically full on just denied her. But this babysitter had other things planned because I remember after like half an hour of me watching an episode of Friends, I realized that my babysitter was nowhere to be found. And I was so confused. But then right as I go upstairs, I started realizing that there were pieces of her clothing just on the floor. And the more I started walking towards my room, I ended up picking up a t-shirt, a pair of leggings, and right as I went to my doorstep, I saw there was literally a pink pair of underwear on the floor. Now, I don't wear pink underwear. Neither does my mother. So I was so confused, and right as I opened the door, I realized that my babysitter was laying down in my bed with absolutely nothing on. And she looks at me as I walk through my door and she says to me, are you really gonna still say no to me? At that moment, I just walked back out, closed my door and said, okay, I have to be on TV. This is nuts. So I ended up going on my phone and I was like basically freaking out and I texted my friends like what she did and all my friends were still begging to come over to see if this was all true. So I ended up telling them to all come over and four of my friends ended up literally coming over like 5 minutes later because they didn't live far from me at the time. And right away, they ended up walking through the door and they ran straight up to my room to see if the babysitter was actually there wearing nothing. But then out of nowhere, right as all my friends walked in there, my babysitter was just sitting on my bed with all her clothes on, looking super normal, and she wasn't even on her phone. She was reading a book. At that moment, all my friends looked at me saying, Bubba, you gotta be crazy, bro. Like, seriously? She's just reading a book in your room. No, I swear I swear she was just on my bed. At that moment, they all started laughing and they all ended up leaving my house. And at that moment, I was just in total shock. I had no idea what to think or what was going on. But after a couple hours, it ended up becoming like 2 in the morning, and this babysitter, she ended up basically walking into my room saying, Bubba, your parents are coming home soon. Apparently like they had to like cancel their flight or something. I really don't know, but they're on the way. Oh, okay, cool. And at that moment, I remember my babysitter walks into my room as I'm laying in bed because reminder, it was 2 in the morning. She ends up giving me a kiss on the lips and said, hope to see you soon. And she ended up basically getting her bag and she left my house. After like 5 minutes later, I was just laying there confused on what was going on. But then I heard someone else walk into into my room, and it was my mom. And my mom was like, oh, Baba, like, I hope everything's okay. Mom, I just want to pass out. Please leave me alone, is what I told her. She ended up leaving my room, and well, that was the last I ever heard of this babysitter. The crazy babysitter that was super sus. But if you guys have never had a babysitter, then just fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.